Everybody, I'm here today to tell you that this is basically the worst thing that you can do to other drivers. I'll be going over one specific thing, and if you do this, it's basically the worst thing that you can do to every other driver that you encounter. Let's get right into the video, and I'll tell you why it's so bad. And unfortunately, I still see this happening from time to time, and it's just horrible. So here's what it is, and then please stay tuned till the end because I'll tell you why it's so bad. So what is it? Well, it's allowing all of your brake lights to burn out, okay? Now here's the thing, when you're driving, yes, you're supposed to be paying attention to the road, but we look for signs and signals, like using a turn signal, like brake lights, to allow us to predict what other drivers are going to be doing. If we don't have those signs and signals, then it's very hard for us to predict what other drivers are going to be doing. So, when you press your brake, in an ideal situation, your brake lights come on. That allows the driver behind you to know that you're slowing down or coming to a stop, and then they can brake on time. But if your brake lights have burnt out, okay, even if one of your brake lights has burnt out, it's still weird because we're used to seeing usually 3 brake lights, the 2 on the sides and then the one in the middle, somewhere in the middle. But if even one of your brake lights has burnt out, then it throws the driver behind you off because you just all of a sudden start appearing closer to them. They don't know that you're braking. You just start getting closer to them and they have to slam their brakes. But if all of your brake lights are out, it's even worse because all of a sudden, right, they're driving and then in front of them, you just start getting closer. Even if you're barely pressing your brake pedal at all, you just start getting closer to them and they don't know to brake early enough. So then they have to slam their brakes. And then what happens? The driver behind them has to slam their brakes. And then the driver behind that person has to slam their brakes. And that's how you cause a traffic snake of accidents. Now, here's why it gets me so worked up and why I think it's so bad. Because there are lots of bad things that drivers can do, but this is basically the worst. And I'll tell you why. There is such an insane amount of warning that you get to fix the problem. First of all, okay, it is probably unbelievably rare, as in probably happened a couple of times in the entire duration of cars being in existence, where all of the brake lights burn out in a very short amount of time. Usually, the way that it works is one brake light will burn out, and then you usually have a very long time before the other brake light burns out, and then the third brake light even longer, okay? So like, you know, as long as you check your brake lights somewhat regularly, even once a month, you're probably going to notice when only one of your brake lights is burnt out, and then you can fix that one brake light. And that's really not that bad. For you to have all of your brake lights burning out, okay, you really have to neglect the simple act of looking at your brake lights. And it's so simple, you don't even have to get out of your car. I'll tell you how to do it in just a moment, okay? You know, it means that you've just not checked your brake lights for so long that all of them have been able to burn out, and you probably almost get rear-ended about 30 times a day if you're in that situation. It's horrible for other drivers. It's unbelievably bad. It is like disproportionately bad, okay? For a little check that you don't do, you're putting everyone else at a major risk, including yourself, okay? Here's how you check easily. When you reverse into a parking spot, okay? When you reverse into a parking spot, put your car in park, put your e-brake on, so you know your car's not going to go anywhere. Put your foot on the brake, and if you reverse into a parking spot that backs towards I'm losing focus over here. I'm trying to get my focus back. There we go. If you back into a parking spot that the back of your car is facing a window of some sort, like a storefront, then you're gonna see in the reflection of the window what your brake lights look like. And I'll tell you, I end up checking my brake lights probably about twice a week, just because I reverse into parking spots, and at least twice a week, when I reverse into a spot, my brake lights are facing the storefront window, and I just see in my rearview mirror to make sure they're all working. Okay, it's just a subconscious thing that I do. So it's a little check. Now, granted, yes, there are some cars, maybe some people, that if there's a fuse blown or a couple fuses blown or an electrical issue, you know, I get it. That maybe an electrical issue is causing all the brake lights to go out at once. That is an exception in the sense that that just happens and it can happen immediately. But other than that, There's tons of notice to check your brake lights, and it's so easy to replace the bulb. In most cases, pretty much every car for the most part will allow you to be able to replace the brake light bulb yourself, and it takes only a moment, and they're so inexpensive. There's like no reason why this should happen. However, at least a handful of times a year I'm driving behind someone and they just keep popping up in front of my car because they don't have any brake lights that are working. I'm like, come on, man or girl, just fix the problem. Come on, it's so simple. Don't make it seem difficult, just fix the problem. That's it. Anyways, that's basically, in my opinion, one of the worst things that you can do to other drivers. Maybe it's because I'm really frustrated about it, or maybe it's because it's truthfully one of the worst things, but either way, it's horrible, plain and simple. If you like this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. Let me know what you think down below as a comment. And of course, be sure to subscribe for more great videos just like this one. And that's all I have for you today. Thanks for watching.